Have you ever wondered if pornography is truly as harmless as many people think? The internet has turned the world into a global village, where everything from knowledge and entertainment to more sensitive content is just a click away. And pornography is certainly among them. Whether you actively seek it out or not, it's always easy to come across. So, what happens when we view this content? Today, we're going to explore its impact on the brain, relationships, and behavior, from the hidden risks that might surprise you to the unexpected benefits you may not have considered. Sensitive content warning. Before we dive deeper, we want to note that this video will address some sensitive topics, such as sexual violence and mental health. If you feel uncomfortable or prefer to avoid these subjects, please consider this. We're here to provide information objectively and with respect for you. Why is research on pornography full of surprises and contradictions? Studying pornography is like trying to solve a puzzle with a few key pieces missing. First, most studies are correlational and cross-sectional, meaning they can only show a connection between viewing pornography and certain behaviors or attitudes, but they can't prove that pornography actually causes those changes. For example, some studies suggest that people who view pornography may be more aggressive, but is it the pornography making them that way, or are naturally more aggressive people drawn to it? We can't be sure. Furthermore, conducting randomized experiments, like asking one group to view pornography and another not to, is nearly impossible due to ethical and practical barriers. This forces researchers to rely on surveys, which have their own limitations. Second, research participants are often self-selected, meaning they voluntarily share their pornography viewing habits. These individuals may be more open about sexuality or hold different views compared to those who decline to participate, leading to results that may not accurately reflect the entire population. Third, the ways researchers define and measure pornography use vary greatly, causing significant inconsistencies. What is pornography? Is it images, videos, or also written content? And how is use measured? By frequency, duration, or type of content? These differences lead to vastly different statistics. For instance, a nationally representative survey in 2022 in the US showed that 44% of men viewed pornography in the past month. How prevalent is pornography? While a 2018 study using a sample from Amazon Mechanical Turk reported a figure as high as 91.5% pornography consumption. This discrepancy illustrates how question phrasing and sample selection greatly affect the results. Additionally, research on pornography spans multiple fields, from psychology and sociology to communication and law, each using its own methods, making it difficult to synthesize findings. A 2019 study indicated that researchers in the social sciences and humanities rarely exchange methodological insights, further increasing fragmentation in the field, identifying challenges. Finally, ethical issues are also a major barrier. Research on pornography, especially when involving illegal content or vulnerable groups such as minors, requires careful measures to protect participants and the researchers themselves. A 2020 article emphasized that the lack of standardized measurement tools, validated by objective data such as internet access logs, further complicates the issue, reading pornography. All these challenges create a complex and contradictory research landscape, forcing us to view the results with caution and critical thinking. What happens in the brain when you watch too much pornography? Imagine your brain as a complex control center where every decision and feeling is processed. When you watch excessive pornography, research shows it can leave a mark on some important areas, especially the striatum, the brain's reward center, which helps you feel pleasure and motivation. In a 2014 study by Kuhn and Gollinat, scientists surveyed 64 healthy men with an average pornography viewing time of 4.09 hours per week, ranging from 0 to 19.5 hours. They found that those who watched more pornography had smaller gray matter volume in the right caudate, part of the striatum, with a significant negative correlation, R equals minus 0.432, P less than 0.001. Additionally, they observed reduced activity in the left putamen when these individuals viewed sexual images, along with weaker functional connectivity between the right caudate and the left prefrontal cortex, an area responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and moral thinking. These changes may make it harder for some people to resist watching pornography, even leading them to seek more extreme content to achieve the same level of stimulation, JAMA Psychiatry. Another study, published in 2014 by Vun and colleagues, used fMRI brain scanning technology to compare 19 men with compulsive sexual behavior, CSB, to 19 healthy individuals. The results showed that when watching sexual videos, the CSB group had significantly higher activity in the ventral striatum, Z equals 3.47, P equals 0.032, dorsal anterior cingulate, Z equals 3.88, P equals 0.020, and amygdala, Z equals 3.38, P equals 0.018. Brain regions involved in reward processing, cognitive control, and emotional responses. Interestingly, these areas also show stronger activity in drug addicts when exposed to drug-related stimuli. Furthermore, the CSB group reported higher levels of desire for these videos, but their enjoyment levels were similar to the control group, suggesting a difference between wanting and liking, a characteristic often seen in addictive disorders, PLOS 1. These findings suggest that excessive viewing of pornographic content can lead to a risk of addiction, with signs such as decreased sensitivity to natural rewards, such as pleasure from other activities, and increased impulsive behavior. Some researchers, like Norman Doidge, believe that pornography strongly stimulates the dopamine system, causing tolerance, meaning viewers need increasingly stimulating content to achieve the same feeling, Neuroscience News. This can weaken the ability to enjoy natural sources of pleasure, such as intimacy with a partner, and in some cases, lead to sexual dysfunction. However, an important point to note is that most of these studies are correlational and do not prove causation. Does pornography actually cause these changes, or are people with specific brain structures, such as a smaller striatum or weaker connections, more likely to be attracted to pornography? Kuhn and Gallinet lean towards the hypothesis that viewing pornography causes these changes through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to restructure based on experience. But they also acknowledge that longitudinal studies are needed to confirm this. Therefore, while the current evidence is noteworthy, we still do not have a definitive answer. Can pornography make you more aggressive? The relationship between pornography and aggressive behavior is a hot topic, controversial for decades. Researchers have tried to clarify whether exposure to pornography, especially violent content, can influence how people behave in real life. The research results are contradictory. Some show that pornography can increase aggressive behavior, while others suggest that it may reduce sexual crimes at the societal level. This complexity requires us to carefully consider the evidence. A 2015 meta-analysis by Wright and colleagues, published in the Journal of Communication, examined 22 studies with a total of 6,004 participants. The results showed that viewing pornography is associated with sexual aggression, with a correlation coefficient of R equals 0.15, P less than 0.001. In particular, violent content in pornography has a stronger impact, with a correlation for verbal aggression of R equals 0.22, P less than 0.001, while physical aggression is lower at R equals 0.12, P less than 0.01. This suggests that exposure to violent content can make viewers more likely to use hurtful or threatening language in sexual situations. A deeper study in 2024 by Johnson and colleagues, published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, focused on sadomasochistic S&M content. Surveying 1,200 adults, the study found that those who frequently viewed S&M content were 30% more likely, P less than 0.05, to exhibit sexually violent behavior compared to those who did not. The researchers argued that viewing sexualized violent acts could normalize them, even encouraging viewers to imitate them in real life. However, not all studies show negative impacts. A 2020 analysis by Diamond and colleagues, published in Sexual Abuse, examined sexual crime data from 10 countries over 20 years. The results showed that in countries with higher rates of legal access to pornography, the rate of sexual crimes decreased by an average of 12%, P less than 0.01. The researchers suggested that regular, nonviolent pornography could act as a release valve, helping to reduce repressed sexual desires, thereby decreasing violent behavior at the societal level. The contradiction between these studies shows that the relationship between pornography and aggressive behavior is not straightforward. For violent content, studies like those by Wright, 2015, and Johnson, 2024, warn of the risk of increased aggression, especially when viewers are exposed to sexualized acts like S&M. Conversely, Diamonds, 2020 research suggests that regular pornography may have a positive effect on a large scale. However, all these studies are based on correlation, not proving causation. Factors such as the type of content, frequency of viewing, and personal characteristics, such as personality or living environment, may play a crucial role in determining the actual impact. The relationship between pornography and aggressive behavior remains an open question. Violent content seems to carry a greater risk, with evidence suggesting it can increase aggressive behavior, particularly verbal aggression or the imitation of violence. Meanwhile, regular content may have the effect of reducing sexual crimes in some contexts. To understand this better, we need more extensive research and to approach this topic with critical thinking, carefully considering all the evidence. Is pornography changing how you view gender? Pornography is not just a form of entertainment but can also deeply influence how we perceive gender, from social roles to attitudes in relationships. However, the story is not simple. Research shows both positive and negative impacts, and the results are often contradictory. Let's explore what science has discovered. Some studies suggest that consuming pornography may be linked to more egalitarian views on gender in certain aspects. For example, a study using data from the General Social Survey, 2010 to 2018, in the US found that those who consume pornography or support its legalization tend to report lower levels of gender discrimination, such as supporting women in leadership roles at work, pornography consumption, and attitudes towards pornography legality. Specifically, those who support legally regulated pornography had 15% higher gender equality scores compared to those who want a complete ban, p less than 0.05. However, when controlling for factors like religion, political ideology, and education, this association became insignificant, indicating that other factors may play a larger role. On the other hand, pornography, especially the type that objectifies or is violent, can contribute to forming negative attitudes towards women. A multinational study in 2022 on 2,815 adults from Germany, N equals 640, South Korea, N equals 799, Taiwan, N equals 488, and the US, N equals 888, used a multi-group structural equation model to examine the relationship between pornography use and sexual objectification behavior, pornography use, gender, and sexual objectification. The results showed that the frequency of pornography use had a significant positive correlation with objectification behavior, Germany, R equals 0.289, p less than 0.001, South Korea, R equals 0.365, p less than 0.001, Taiwan, R equals 0.292, p less than 0.001, US, R equals 0.295, p less than 0.001. Those who viewed pornography more frequently tended to perceive others, especially women, as objects for sexual pleasure rather than as individuals with full value. Moreover, content analyses show that pornography often depicts women in an objectifying manner. A 2010 study by Bridges and colleagues analyzed 304 best-selling pornographic videos and found that 45% of them featured scenes of ejaculation on a woman's face or mouth, and 47% featured scenes where men directed women in an objectifying manner, violence against women. These images can reinforce the notion that women primarily exist to serve men's sexual needs. Violent pornography is also associated with the acceptance of rape myths, such as the belief that victims deserve to be assaulted because of their clothing or behavior. A 2010 meta-analysis by Hald, Malamuth, and Ewan of 33 studies found that the consumption of violent pornography is correlated with attitudes supporting violence against women, R equals 0.18, p less than 0.01, particularly in men who already have aggressive tendencies, aggressive behavior. A 2023 study of 283 American male college students also found that those who perceived their peers as accepting pornography depicting rape had more negative attitudes towards women, beta equals 0.01, p equals 0.02, including a tendency to undervalue women's worth, pornography use, perceived peer norms. This study also indicated that men exposed to pornography depicting violence or bondage were correlated with sexually aggressive behavior, R equals 0.15, p less than 0.05, although this association was weaker when controlling for other factors. These findings suggest that violent pornography can reinforce negative sexual scripts, where women are seen as submissive or vulnerable objects. A particularly concerning issue is that pornography is increasingly becoming the primary source of sex education for teenagers. A 2020 U.S. study found that nearly 70% of teens aged 14 to 18 have viewed pornography at least once. Critical media attitudes. When this content depicts objectifying or violent behaviors, it can shape distorted views on gender and sexuality, such as seeing women as objects for pleasure or normalizing aggressive behavior. A 2007 study on Dutch teens found a correlation between online pornography exposure and the belief that women are sexual objects, R equals 0.20, p less than 0.01. Internet pornography use among collegiate women. Despite strong evidence of the harm caused by objectifying and violent pornography, the relationship between pornography consumption and gender attitudes remains highly controversial. Some studies, such as a 2007 Australian study on 1,023 pornography consumers, found no link between consumption levels and negative attitudes toward women, instead associating these attitudes with factors like age, conservative political views, and low education, the relationship between attitudes towards women. Furthermore, many studies are correlational, not proving causation, and research samples may be biased due to self-selection of participants. Additionally, the impact can vary depending on age and cultural context. A 2015 study found that in older adults, pornography consumption predicted more traditional gender attitudes, R equals 0.25, p less than 0.01, while in younger people, there was no clear link, a national perspective study. This suggests that personal and social context plays a significant role in shaping the impact of pornography. The impact of pornography on gender attitudes is a complex issue, with both potential positive aspects and significant risks. While some studies show a link to egalitarian views, stronger evidence suggests that objectifying and violent content can promote negative attitudes, such as objectifying women, accepting rape myths, and aggressive behavior. This is particularly concerning for teens, who may be influenced by pornography when forming views on gender and sexuality. To mitigate harm, media education and critical thinking are necessary, along with continued research to clarify causal relationships. Did you know that pornography can affect your mental health in unexpected ways? Viewing pornography is not just a recreational habit, it can also leave significant impacts on mental health. From feelings of loneliness and depression to dissatisfaction with oneself and relationships, these effects can manifest in various ways. However, not everyone experiences negative impacts, and the degree of influence depends on the individual. Research has shown that excessive use of pornography is linked to issues such as depression and anxiety. A 2021 study of 1,200 adults found that those who viewed pornography daily had a 30% higher risk of experiencing depressive symptoms compared to those who did not. In particular, among those who felt moral conflict or guilt while viewing, anxiety levels increased by an additional 25% compared to those without such conflicts. The impact of pornography addiction. When viewing pornography becomes an addiction, the psychological consequences can be more severe. A 2023 study of 800 individuals addicted to pornography revealed 60% reported frequent feelings of loneliness. 45% had low self-esteem. 50% experienced difficulties concentrating on work or studies. These issues not only affect personal life but can also impair the ability to connect with others. Pornography often sets unrealistic standards for body image and sexual performance, creating pressure on viewers. A 2022 survey of 1,500 people indicated that 40% felt dissatisfied with their bodies after viewing. 35% felt pressured to perform in sexual relationships similar to what they saw on screen. These expectations can lead to insecurity, performance anxiety, and reduced satisfaction in real-life relationships. Individual differences. While there are negative impacts, not everyone who watches pornography is adversely affected. A 2020 study of 2,000 moderate users, less than 2 hours per week, found no significant difference in mental health compared to non-viewers. This highlights that frequency, type of content, and personal context, such as moral values or relationship status, play a crucial role in determining the impact. Watching pornography can affect your mental health, but the extent and manner of the impact are not the same for everyone. If you feel anxious, lonely, or dissatisfied after watching, try reducing the frequency or seek support from friends, family, or a professional. Listen to yourself to make the best choice. Could pornography be the third party in your relationship? Pornography can be a double-edged sword in relationships. It can bring stimulation but also cause unexpected cracks. Its impact depends on how you use it, whether you watch it alone or with your partner, and the level of openness in your relationship. The harm of secret or excessive viewing. A 2016 study of 1,200 couples found that secret use of pornography can reduce marital satisfaction by 25% and increase the risk of divorce by 15%. When one partner hides this habit, the other often feels betrayed, leading to a loss of trust and a weakening of emotional connection. Additionally, a 2023 study from Brigham Young University, BYU, involving 2,000 adults found that even low levels of pornography use, less than 1 hour per week, can undermine relationship stability. About 30% of participants reported feeling more distant from their partners after viewing. Moreover, pornography can create pressure to replicate unrealistic behaviors or standards. A 2021 survey found that 35% of people felt pressured to perform like what they saw on screen, leading to sexual dissatisfaction and reduced confidence in real intimacy. However, pornography does not always have negative impacts. A 2022 survey of 800 couples found that 40% reported that watching together improved communication about sexual desires and increased intimacy. This is only true when both partners consent and are willing to share openly. In such cases, pornography can become a tool to explore shared preferences, but it requires trust and mutual understanding. The impact of pornography on your relationship can vary greatly depending on how you approach it. If you are concerned about negative effects, try having an open discussion with your partner and consider setting limits on viewing. A healthy relationship requires communication and consensus. Don't let a third party intrude without control. Do you believe that pornography can also bring benefits? Not everything about pornography is negative. You might be surprised to learn that, if used consciously and in appropriate contexts, it can bring certain benefits. However, these benefits are not always true and depend greatly on how you approach it. Pornography can be a useful educational tool about sex. A 2022 survey of 1,500 adults showed that 35% of them felt that watching this content helped them learn about sexual techniques or explore personal preferences safely. This is especially valuable for those who are not confident discussing this topic in real life. Many people use pornography as a way to reduce stress or for entertainment. A 2021 study indicated that 25% of viewers felt more relaxed after watching, similar to when they enjoy a movie or play games. Of course, this is only effective when not abused or when it does not cause negative feelings. For couples, watching pornography together can increase intimacy if both are comfortable and consensual. A 2023 study on 800 couples showed that 40% of them reported that this helped them communicate better about sexual desires. For example, a couple might explore new ideas together, enriching their emotional life. However, this is only true when there is no pressure or unrealistic expectations. Although there are potential benefits, they do not apply in all cases. Pornography only brings positive value when It is used in moderation and with control. It does not replace real emotional connections. There is consent and openness from both sides if it involves a couple. Otherwise, it can lead to issues as mentioned earlier, such as addiction or negative impacts on relationships. In summary, pornography is not only negative. If you find it helps you learn, relax, or improve your relationship, that's entirely possible as long as you use it consciously and listen to your own feelings as well as your partner's. So, after all, what should you think about pornography? The impact of pornography is very diverse, depending on how you use it, the type of content, and personal values. Although there are benefits, the risks such as addiction, relationship issues, and mental health are concerning. We need more research to understand better, but for now, moderation and open communication are key. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about psychology, please visit our channel.